All right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome. We're a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 254, and this is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. As always, you could write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends and be sure to leave comments and rate our podcast as you see fit. And as a reminder, we're a video podcast as well, so you can watch the show if you prefer on the YouTube channel. For new and or longtime listeners, we now have a Patreon. You can support this show for $1 a month at the Patreon tier called the One and Only $1 Club. Head over to www.patreon.com/PSThisIsAwesome to become a $1 patron and get a free die-cut vinyl sticker and a shout out on the show. The other cool thing is we have been posting episodes a little early for our patrons, and they know that. So we try to do that. It's not a promise, but more than likely you'll get it several hours before Monday, but probably a day early. So with that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing?
Pretty good. I've been really busy. Basically been going ham today since about 7:30 this morning.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's just we're getting really close to Christmas, so I got a lot of like stuff I got to do around the house, not to mention presents and just other preparation and stuff. So I'm a big fan of like holiday beverages. So I like making certain types of mixed drinks during the Christmas time and different types of beers and whiskeys and things like that. And I bought this yesterday. I bought this Great Lakes Brewing Company, which is out of Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
Makes a Christmas ale for those of you watching on the old YouTubes. And it's very good. It's got some cinnamon and stuff in it. So it definitely tastes really Christmassy. And I was actually looking at when I bought it, right beside it, there was, I can't remember the name of the brewery right now, but they had a sweet potato ale that I almost bought.
Sweet potato.
And
that's different.
I have no fucking clue what it would taste like, but that might be my next purchase.
Yeah.
So, but so far, really enjoying the Christmas ale. I'm a big fan of, you ever have a White Russian?
I don't know. It sounds like a personal question.
Like the beverage, a White Russian.
Joking. No, I have not.
I feel like
I don't think.
I guess I don't.
What is it?
I guess I don't. So I don't. So basically, it is a. I fucking fucked up my whatever. Basically, what it is do you know what Kahlua is?
Yeah.
It's a coffee liqueur. Mm-hmm. So there is Kahlua and vodka, and it's supposed to be made with heavy cream, but I just use milk. And basically it sounds so like I was super resistant because to me the idea of having milk in an alcoholic beverage sounds fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's kind of gross.
But it's basically technically the way you're supposed to do it is it's supposed to be like equal parts Kahlua and vodka with a splash of cream. Mm-hmm. So it's like mostly boozy. But the way that I like to make it is to make it like equal parts Kahlua and milk with a splash of vodka. And it has this real like milkshake kind of flavor to it. Like it literally tastes like a milkshake with a little bit of like a hint of booziness to it. It's really good. But what I like to do in the wintertime is they didn't have it this year, at least at our liquor store. But Kahlua makes a version of it, at least historically, they made a version of Kahlua that was a mint mocha version. Mm-hmm. So it had like a mint chocolate flavor to it. So I would make the White Russian with that instead of regular Kahlua, and then maybe put like a peppermint, like a candy cane in it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it has like a real like kind of
minty kind of.
Imagine like a mint milkshake kind of flavor to it. So.
And then you go outside and get a little snow and just put a little on top.
You could, or some. honestly, it might be awesome if you put like whipped cream on it or something like that. But because I've also done that too, is use like whipped vodka or whatever. But I don't drink vodka very often, so usually if I'm gonna buy vodka, I buy something that I like to use for anything, not just one particular cocktail. I typically don't make cocktails because to me it's like you have to buy all these different liquors and stuff. Like I always watch these shows on YouTube about like these guys that make these crazy cocktails and they sound cool, like something I might want to try. But then it's like, oh, you need 7 bottles of liquor to make this.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not going and fucking spending $200 on 7 bottles of liquor to make one cocktail that I might not like.
Right.
Anyway, that was a bit of a digression about alcohol. This is a gaming podcast, but that's just where my head's at right now.
Very well. Very well. Yeah, man, things are good on my side. I don't know. Like, I have a couple interesting stories. I know last episode I talked about Cormac McCarthy adventure. This episode, a couple quick little strange things that I have been involved in. So I don't know if it's like like when you start getting older, you just don't know how people talk to other people. You know what I mean? Like what the cool things are. Or like in my day, it was like calling people dude or what's up. Maybe not really. We never call each other bro or brah. We never really did that. But like we like dude or like yo man, like what's up man. You know what I mean? I don't know. There were ways of speaking to each other. That was like, yeah, we're all cool. I went to Vocelli's to grab lunch for Chelsea and I, and they were really, really busy. And I was on a 30-minute break. This was Friday. I was on a 30-minute break, lunch break. So I had to get the food, and I was going to run her food at the house because she's working from home, and then I had to get back to the office. So I'm like trying to execute this very quickly, and the order was called in. Everything was just to walk in, grab the food, leave. It should be that easy. But they were like really slammed. And the dude behind, they have like this weird, it's like the cash register. And then there's like where the cash register person would be the cashier. But like everybody there is a cashier because they don't have like a dedicated cash register person. It's like a pizza shop. So like whoever could just fucking do the cash register, they'll do it. And then behind that space, there's a wall, but there's an opening cut out into it. And it's the pizza oven in the back room, you can see it. And then it's like usually the main person who's pulling the pizzas out, putting them in boxes, making the sandwiches, whatever. So this guy's back there and they're really busy. And then the owner's there and she knows me. So I go there once in a while and she goes, oh yeah, I recognize your face. And she's smiling. She goes, and the guy who's making the food's like, hey, what'd you have? And I'm like, what? I'm like, my name's Fred, online order. And she goes, oh, yeah. He's going to want the veggie subs. She's telling him. And he goes, all right, Fred Oakman. He goes, I got you, big boy. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say to somebody. And I was like, that must just be like bro code, like we're cool. But like, I was like, I've never been called big boy before. But I was called big boy.
I recently, like multiple times, have had people in a public setting, like a server or an employee that was working with me or something, call me boss, which like was never a thing.
We got you, boss. Yeah, right.
And I'm like, why? I was like, I'm fine with it. Like when I was in Chicago, the waiter came up to me and he kept calling me boss, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's just this guy's thing. Mm-hmm. And then like 2 or 3 other people started calling me that. I'm like, is this a thing now? Like, yeah, that I'm missing out on? Or
I think
it's just kind of an indication that maybe you've aged out of trend, out of common trend, like changing trends, I guess.
Just dialogue trends, right? Like things that there's, the vernacular of like youth. I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah, I was called Big Boy on Friday, and I think I was okay with it. I mean, like if I called somebody Big Boy, I feel like I'd probably either get punched or like they'd be like, "Are you calling me fat?" Like would be the response that I would get. But the way that this dude delivered it, I was like, he just means like, dude. I think, So, anyways, I put a couple pounds on, but not enough to probably be considered a big boy. But yeah, I thought it was funny. Anyways, the other thing that's interesting, and this is a play on what you're talking about, making custom alcohol drinks, right? This is a play on that, but slightly different, but very relatable. I usually don't participate in office functions outside of just typical office work that I do, and they're having because half of our office is working from home and half is still in the office. It's kind of a morale booster. They're having like a Christmas get together thing on Wednesday, and there's an older guy there who should be well retired, but he just sticks around. Like, he's a really interesting dude. Nice guy, and he orchestrated this Christmas cookie exchange, right? And there's a few rules. Is like, it can't be like store bought, it can't be like fucking Oreos, and it can't be like the Sara Lee or the Betty Crocker ones that come in a bag. You just add milk and egg and make them. Like, you have to actually make cookies from scratch. And I'm like, fuck, man. You know what? Like, I kind of like to bake and I like to cook. I do like to do these things. I'm like, all right, I'll sign up for it. So I had to go to the grocery store today, and I got all these fucking ingredients to make cookies, and it was like $45. And I'm like, this is insane. But I don't care, because it's part of the thing. You know, we're gonna have extra cookies. I'll have cookies to take to the folks' place for Christmas. You know, but it's that same thing. It's like, man, if you ever want to try a recipe and you don't have half the shit there, just go to a restaurant and find something close to that thing. You know what I mean? It just makes more sense.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm excited to make Christmas cookies. That's on my docket for Sunday. But how about we talk about some games that we're playing, Jake, and what we are getting into. And I do have to check something. There we go. That I got the time now. I will say this, because I didn't check in with you. Did you beat God of War Ragnarok yet?
No, I think that I'm like at the like final kind of point of it, but I haven't beat it. No.
So we can't do a spoiler cast yet on that. Okay. The other game, so I beat God of War Ragnarok, and there's a lot of post-end game shit to do, which like really kind of pissed me off. Like content, like a little more story shit, even after credits roll. And it's like, I guess the developers thought it was optional. For me, it's not, because you just have to fucking, if you're already in that deep, you're not going back to it. Just fucking do it while you can. I don't know.
If it's story, really. If there's any kind of narrative to it, then yeah, duh.
But it's stupid to roll credits then early, I think. Initial impression of that. But I haven't gotten back to it after I've done what I think is all the story stuff, but I actually do think that there could be more story stuff that you have to go out and find and seek. And then it's just not what I'm into. So I did purchase Call of Duty Cold War a while back on sale. I got through the campaign. It was short, sweet, and really good. A really cool campaign, man. Cold War campaign is awesome.
I've heard good things.
It's interesting.
That's why I wanted to play it.
There's like actual shit going on in this campaign. I don't want to spoil it for you, but there are. So you pick your missions based on a big kind of like a board. You would think, like, you know, the different photographs are like stapled to it and stuff, or pinned to it, and maps and different intel. And then you go to this board, and that's how you select what mission in the campaign you want to play, right? And as you progress through the campaign, more evidence shows up, and you can pick new missions. There are 2 optional missions in the campaign, and the only way to do them is to collect enough evidence from the other campaign missions, which is awesome. So,
wait, say that again?
There are 2 campaign missions that are optional in the Call of Duty campaign. And the only way to complete them is you have to have collected and acquired enough. They're not really hidden. You have to pick up evidence pieces from, you know, like maybe in one of the missions you storm a guy's apartment, right? And then you have to root through a drawer and find a piece, and that connects it to another mission on the cork board. So if you don't pick that piece up, you don't have enough information to go to that mission yet. So they do this really interesting thing, and they also give you either the illusion of choice of who you kill and who you don't kill as far as enemies, if you capture them, if you set them free, if you take them out. It's interesting. I've never seen this in a Call of Duty campaign before. And by the end of the game, I was just like, that was really cool. That was it wasn't so so off the beaten path that it felt unfamiliar, but it was new enough and fresh enough that it felt worth playing. And the campaign respects your time. It's not very long to play through it, and it's nice. I think they should sell this campaign for $20 alone, because it's clearly its own thing. Because after I beat it, the game gave me the option to delete only the campaign portion of Cold War and leave the multiplayer installed. And it's like,
interesting.
Why aren't you just selling this fucking campaign? Because it's great. It's fantastic. It's really good. So I played that. I would recommend it if you can get it on sale. It's not a long playthrough. And of course, they have like the enemy boxes, and in order, you have to keep pushing forward to progress the parts of the map and stuff. But it's really cool. They even give you dialogue options in this game, which is really wild. So for a Call of Duty game, it's unheard of. I did download the PS5 upgrade for The Witcher 3. That released recently, but I had some problems with it, and I'll tell you what happened. And if the listeners are interested, this is going to be good information for you. My version of The Witcher was a disc version, right? So that's hurdle number one. I bought it, I think, when it came out on PS4. So in order to get the free upgrade, I had to have my disc version of The Witcher installed. It doesn't just recognize that you have it. You have to have it installed. And then it has to be upgraded to the latest version. Mm-hmm. And they have created a cross save between the PS5. So once you get that, then you can go get the free PS5 version. And then that will download. And that updates. So now I have a PS4 version and I have a PS5 version. But my saved awesome playthrough is on my PS4. And I was like, well, I'll just import the save file from PS Plus, right? So I import it, and now the PS4 version recognizes my save files because I've imported them. I go to play it, and it says, we can't play this. You can't play this because you don't have the 2 expansion packs installed, and you don't have all these free DLC updates that CD Projekt Red released with this game. So in order for you to pick up where your save left off, you have to get the game downloaded into the state it was when you saved the game. So I had to go back onto the PlayStation Store and download every little downloadable content that had previously been purchased. Download it. And I had to do this because the cross-save feature requires you to go into the old version of The Witcher. It sounds confusing, but it's not if you just listen to me. You have to go into the old version of The Witcher. You have to go to load game, and then you have to press the L3 button, which enables cross-save. But it does so by uploading your former save to your GOG.com account. So it saves it in CD Projekt Red's cloud, not your PS Plus cloud. It saves it to their cloud under your account with them, and it's a free account. And the only way to do it is to do that and then power up the PS5 version, and then it will show up. My issue was, and probably the listeners' issues will be, it does not upload your save to the cloud unless you open it in the most current version of the game. So you have to download all of that extra content on the PS4 version and power up your last save in order for it to send it to GOG to open it on the PS5 version. And it's a little confusing, but it does work. So
yeah, I think that's like the shitty thing about save transfers on PS5, because when PS5 was coming out, there's that whole like controversy kind of thing where Sony was kind of him-hawing about whether or not saves would transfer between PS4 and PS5 games. Right. And on Xbox, it just fucking works. It's seamless. There's no anything, no nothing. You don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. But on PS5, it's like a lot of the games you have to go into the old game and you have to do a thing. You have to upload it to like their cloud, which I think their system then converts it to like the fucking PS5 version, and then you can like download it to the new version of the game. And it's like, I don't know. I can tell you right now, if I ever go to play The Witcher 3 on PS5, I'm just starting from scratch. I'm not even bothering fucking around with the old version of the save. It's not worth it. There's literally no point in doing all that stuff.
So
unless you like for whatever reason really want to start from your old character.
Well, they have a new game plus, right? And I'm just like, I think I want to do it that way. That way I have all my fucking awesome shit.
I guess I can understand that. It's been so long since I've played the game though that I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not going to remember how the combat works or any fucking thing anyway, so I might as well just start from scratch. And
yeah.
The only thing that sucks about the new game plus mode is that you have to do that whole like first map area thing, the tutorial
with
mini open world, and then you go to like the main area or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's cool, but they make it so hard to fuck with all that stuff that I don't know.
But I'm in rock and roll mode.
It sucks.
That's the good news. I'm in rock and roll mode. I only got into the game briefly this evening before we started the podcast, and it is buttery smooth in 60 frames per second. And it's like, holy shit. Like, I gotta play this game again. I have to do it. It's so good. Anyhow, Jake, what have you been playing?
God of War. That's it.
All right.
I haven't really been able to. I've been so busy with work. I haven't really been able to do a whole lot of gaming. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I'm really close to the end of the game, I think. Really enjoying it. The story is getting kind of wild, I guess. But I don't really have a whole lot else to say. I mean, I have to imagine we could probably do the spoiler cast over the holidays at some point.
Yeah, I don't get any time off, but yes, we'll.
I'm off the whole week between Christmas and New Year's.
Well, let's do both spoiler casts, the Mass Effect and the God of War, and get caught up.
We should be able to do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into listener feedback, and I will say it's been really nice hearing from the new listeners and the old listeners alike. And I just want to encourage that to keep happening. We have a lot this time, and some first-time listeners writing in. And I want to give a big props to Play by Ken, because I think he was the trailblazer here. And I think every time he puts a comment in, it falls into some algorithm and someone else finds our show. So thank you. And our last episode on YouTube had like 50 listens pretty quick, which is awesome for our YouTube channel because we don't get a ton. We are that small little mom and pop podcast, but those who have found us tend to stick with us, so we appreciate that, guys. And so the first listener feedback is a follow-up on our experience with the Forspoken demo. Tyler Rims wrote, and he says, first-time listener, on the topic of the Forspoken demo, I've learned that you can turn down the banter between Frey and Cuff. You might be able to turn it off completely, but it's in the accessibility options. Because we were complaining about how like every 2 seconds they were like, you can just turn down the volume so you don't have to hear that. That's a nice feature. And then
I don't want to turn down the volume. I just don't want them to fucking do it so often.
But it's nice that you can turn it down. Right. I think once
but what if they make like some sort of
important,
like narratively important comment to each other? Yeah. Like I want to be able to hear that part.
Yeah.
I just don't want to hear them being like, "Whoa, that was crazy." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, I'm being a little bit goofy.
Jake's drunk. So you can.
Not yet.
Tyler also wrote. He said you can also quick swap between spell sets using the right and left on the D-pad, and I had no idea that existed. And he said,
that's more important.
Yeah, and he said,
in my opinion, that's more important.
Yeah, and he said in the options you can also tune the slowdown that happens when you bring up the spell wheel. I made it completely stop time, but you can also make it where it doesn't slow down at all. So these are features that are quality of life features. I guess you can call them that, but like things that Jake and I had some major complaints about that Tyler apparently found in the gameplay options. So thank you, Tyler. I didn't even look there, to be completely honest. I just kind of played it with how I wanted them to have me experience the game. So nice that those at least are in the options. It's weird that they wouldn't make that the default, though. That's what I don't understand. Jake?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I didn't look to see. I didn't jump in after we got this comment to see like the extent at which you could make all these changes. But if it's relatively thorough and it allows you to kind of make some changes and stuff, I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't just tell you that, that you could do it. I mean, so to me, it seems like, you know, if you're doing the tutorial, if you're going to make me do a tutorial, like tell me that I can that I can quick change between spells. And maybe they do, and I just didn't fucking see it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But thanks for writing in, dude, for sure. And we hope to hear from you again in the future. The next list of feedback was Big Box. Fred, any Headstones influence in your musical style? I hear a little Hugh Dillon in your Christmas song. I'd never heard of Headstones. That's such a rad band name, by the way. And I did check them out, but I'm not sure that it's the same Headstones. I went on Amazon Music and I listened, and they were fine. No, but yeah, I've never heard of them. But I'll take that as a compliment for sure. And I'm glad that new people are experiencing that Christmas song of ours. It's so good. It's a fucking good song. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I feel like I wish we just would record a new one every year.
I want to.
Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be an original. Like, we could even play around with like some of the public domain stuff.
Yeah.
And just like make original versions or something. But I like that song is so fun just generally, and is so thematic.
Yeah.
That I Sarah and I were putting up the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I don't know, a few weeks ago, after Thanksgiving. And, we always put on Christmas music while we're putting up the tree or whatever.
Yeah.
And when she wasn't paying attention, I popped that song on and she got a kick out of it.
It's so good. Like, it feels like Christmas.
It's just a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Big Box also has a question for you, Jake, which I like this question a lot. He says, also curious if Jake is open to any multiplayer whatsoever. He seems pretty down on the genre as a whole. I'm wondering if he can identify what it is about multiplayer that repels him so much, and if that can be cured with proper game design down the road. Merry Christmas, y'all.
So I'll answer this question.
I love the question.
So if you want to know my sort of general opinion towards multiplayer, just wait till we get into our wrap up and you can see how much multiplayer gaming I did this past year. But I will say that if he wants to know like what repels me about it, it's like I love the idea of multiplayer. I love it in concept. The problem is that I play video games to escape and to sort of kind of be able to experience something that is kind of that allows me to, that's like sort of outside of real life. And a lot of my enjoyment is me being able to take my time to smell the flowers and all this kind of stuff and play games on my own schedule and all this kind of crap. And like, to me, like, for example, Skyrim is a type of game where I just, I can fall down a rabbit hole with that, where I love the idea of just jumping in that game, kind of running around and then just seeing what I can find. And the idea of like another human player with like their fucking name over their avatar as they're like jumping around fucking teabagging enemies and shit like that totally breaks the immersion for me and completely ruins gaming. Like, to me, gaming is all about escape and immersion, and it's really hard to do that on somebody else's schedule. And because gaming to me is not a social experience.
Right.
Like, if I want to do, like, for me, social experiences are things like
hockey.
I do the band for that. I do hockey for that. I like to do in-person stuff when I want to do social things. I don't really like doing virtually social things. I'm not one for, dude, I hate fucking even like Skyping my family, because I would much rather see them in person. I don't, for some reason, there's a disconnect with me. Like, the idea of like a digital social space is very it's very like it makes me feel weird. Like I would rather be in person with people and hang out and all that.
I get a little uncomfortable too sometimes.
Like I'll be honest with you, like there are times where someone will call me or they'll want to Skype me or whatever, and I'll just be fucking annoyed and cranky the whole time I'm on the call with them. But if we were in person together with me being in the same exact mood, I would probably have a great time. And like there's something about the digital aspect of it, like sometimes you lose service or it drops your call a little bit or whatever. And the thing with video games is, think about something like Destiny, for example. Destiny is the only multiplayer game I play, and it's a technicality because I play it by myself, even though there are other people in the world.
You can't control.
And so like when you're playing with other people, like Fred, you and I have played I wouldn't say a ton of Destiny together, but we've played quite a few games together. And there's a lot of like story missions and stuff. And it's really hard to be like with your friends and like everyone's talking and shit. And I just want to like hear what's going on. I want to watch the cutscene. I want to know what's happening, but everybody's fucking talking. And I cannot multitask at all. If people are talking in the background, I cannot hear what is going on. Like my brain just doesn't operate.
That's
that
fair.
way.
That's a fair response. Yeah.
So I'm sorry that's a little bit of a tangent, but I will admit that like I kind of envy people that are into multiplayer gaming. Like I wish I could do it, but it just doesn't jive with me for some reason. Yeah. I think it's just because of like the theme of my gaming is different than the people that play, you know, Call of Duty or Destiny or Dota or something like that, where it's more about the competition and the social aspect of it and everything. And that is just not an aspect that I've ever really needed in my gaming, short of like way back in the day when we were passing NES controllers back and forth.
Right.
Like there's like even into adulthood, a friend of ours would come over to my house and we'd hang out sometimes. And occasionally I would bust out my Super Nintendo and we would just, you know, have some drinks and him and I would talk and then we would just pass a controller back and forth playing Super Mario or something like that. Because it was just one of those things where, I don't know, lent itself to that. There wasn't so much story. There wasn't so much immersion. It was more about the gameplay part.
Well, maybe.
But anyway,
maybe factions will bring you around.
Maybe. I mean, I really enjoyed. But here's the thing: if we're talking about factions, the original Survivor mode in The Last of Us, the first game,
the new factions.
Yeah. So if we're talking about the original factions, part of the reason why I loved that so much is that they fucking cut all that shit, all the social stuff out. It was like competitive and it was like a thing, but it was Naughty Dog somehow found a way to make it super immersive and personal without there being like all of this multiplayer shit just puked on top of you, breaking the experience for me personally. So, you know, it's not you'll never get me to play a fucking Call of Duty game again on multiplayer just because of the lobbies and the fucking people that play those games. And it's just, I get some people thrive on that, but it's just not for me. So Big Box, I hope that answers your question some. And if you have some suggestions for games that you think might be suitable for me, I would welcome them. But one of the big limiting factors is that, like, I'll be completely honest, I do most of my gaming between 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know any of my friends who are awake and want to do multiplayer gaming between 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, unless they've been up all night and haven't.
Because I always do my video gaming before work, and because it helps me wake up and kind of get ready for the day. And then in the evenings, usually I'm watching TV with my wife or something like that. So I'm usually not playing much video games in the evening. But anyway, that was a really long-winded answer, but hopefully it enlightens you a little bit.
Yeah. Next listener, Josh Peters writes in. He's a patron, so we're going to read his. We'll make this one quick. He said 4 quick points. Number one, I didn't know they were making another Death Stranding. I remember finishing the game and wanting to talk about it, but no one in my circle played it. I loved it, but I can see it being one of those games where you have to be in a particular mood or mindset for it to be enjoyable. Number two, Fred should play Returnal. It's basically a Christmas game with all the fancy flashing lights. Number three, I think federal student loans have always been 10 years. Maybe you guys just did an extended payment plan, LOL. Number four, you guys should just soundboard the PS This Is Awesome part of the outro because we're always out of sync. I can't figure out how to do a soundboard through all this bullshit, so that ain't gonna happen. But thanks for writing in, Josh. Played by Ken wanted me, he said he didn't care, but I wanted to correct a statement. Last episode, I said that he didn't think that Judas looked good. I misread that, so this is why I've copied and pasted exact screenshots of our comments on our show notes. He actually said that it did look interesting. So it opened a great dialogue, so I don't regret he's
risen in esteem in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, he was maybe not.
For all I know, this could be fucking Ken Levine.
Dude,
the maker of the
Ken
game.
Levine. Could you
Played
imagine?
by Ken Levine.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But he wrote, and he always writes a lot of stuff, so I'm just going to comb through some of it real quick because he's on a streak, and we got to keep giving him a shout out on the show. He did say that if they get the controls right for Company of Heroes 3, it could be an amazing addition to PlayStation. They're great games on PC, but real-time strategy games ported to console often come unstuck with poor controls. I don't disagree with that. He says he has Sudden Strike 4 on PS4, and while it's one of the few good real-time strategy games available on console, he constantly feels like he's fighting with the controls. And then he said, regarding all the not actual gameplay trailers shown at the Game Awards, I think I'm just particularly hard on them because I'm still feeling burnt by the Cyberpunk 2077 release. It had flashy trailers and hype that eventually hooked me into pre-ordering the game for PS4. I'm old enough and just the right side of dumb enough to know better than pre-ordering, but I did it anyways, and I really, really regretted it. That game was a disaster at release and so disappointing on PS4. It's a lesson I won't forget quickly. So when I see flashy not gameplay trailers, my guard goes straight up. And I don't disagree with you. I mean, that's a school of hard knocks.
So he's one of these, like, I didn't know personally anyone who actually played this game on PS4.
Right.
And so yeah,
he's a victim.
That sucks for you, dude. That I watched some gameplay on PS4 and it is fucking broken.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No Country.
I would have gotten my money back from Sony.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he did. I don't know. So he writes in, I had that Cormac McCarthy experience. He said, I really enjoyed No Country for Old Men as a movie. It's a fucking fantastic movie, listeners. And if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's so good. He writes, I didn't know it was a book adaptation. Yes, it is. And then he said you have to look into the author and read more of his work. Some of his work is really good. Some of it's a little out there. Just be warned, a little warning, McCarthy does not use quotation marks in dialogue, so you just kind of have to figure it out. He gets a pass for some reason in literary circles. It's just his thing. It's his trademark. So you just got to fucking figure it out. He does use spacing in the way that it's written. So every line is a new line of dialogue. So he gets away with it that way. And he said, do you know when you hear anything about a Cyberpunk song? It's a crazy number on entries. Wishing you luck with that. Hope we get to hear it one day. You guys will definitely get to hear the Cyberpunk song at some point, whether it's in the game or not in the game. I'm going to make sure that happens. They said on the website that after we submitted that entry, that they said it would be 10 days, I believe, after January 31st. So by February 10th-ish, they should notify all the winners. If I don't hear anything, I'm just going to assume that we didn't get it. So anyways, back to the real-time strategy. He wanted to know if we ever played Command & Conquer games on PlayStation 1. He said they were his introduction to real-time strategy on the console. And I'm sure if I went back and played it now, the controls would be frustrating. But at the time, I knew no better and had a lot of fun with them. I never played Warcraft 2 on PC. Unfortunately, I think my time was spent with Age of Empires. Because I told him that my experience with real-time strategy games growing up was always Warcraft 2 on PC. Like Warcraft 2 and 3. I loved those fucking games on PC. They were so good. And then he said it was great to see us getting more feedback and interactions. Looking forward to listener feedback, having some new names. I agree. So thank you for that. all the listeners, and he said the show has a really solid content without a lot of BS. So I really think it's just a matter of the audience finding you guys, the needle in the haystack, particularly on YouTube. Thank you for your commitment to giving us a great entertainment on a regular basis. That alone is more than some other podcasts manage. So thank you for the kind words played by Ken. And then lastly, Clint Gilmore writes in, and Jake, you were trying to figure out the name of the game whatever. He said Pyre was the Supergiant game we were trying to think of.
Yeah.
So thanks for that update. So he's not wrong about that. Anything on any of those comments, Jake, or we can get into the news.
So a couple of comments. One, I do want to get back to Death Stranding. Josh was talking about it. Especially since they announced the new one, I definitely want to make sure I get back to that one and beat it, because I did enjoy it, but it is kind of you have to be into it. Yeah. Because it is a very strange game. I mean, it's fucking FedEx Simulator, but you're walking around. It is actually a walking simulator, not we use that as a term for a lot of these other kinds of games. But I would like to get back to that. And RTSs, the the Command and Conquer era and all that stuff, I was playing all those RTS games on PC. To me, I didn't play any of that stuff on console. I don't know if I've ever actually played an RTS game on console, to be honest with you. Pretty much every RTS game I've ever played has been on PC. I'm with you, the Blizzard RTS games, fucking Warcraft 2 and StarCraft, the first one with the expansion Brood War, were my jam in the fucking late 90s, early 2000s. You're talking about Warcraft 2 they had that expansion Tides of War.
Oh yeah.
With the ships. So good. And then they had StarCraft with the expansion Brood War, which both of those games were so fucking good. And Command and Conquer was also really good, but it didn't jive with me as much as the Blizzard RTS games. And I also did play Age of Empires and what was the other one? It was really similar. Was it called Empire Earth or something?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Empire Earth. Yeah. So Age of Empires, Empire Earth, they kind of run together in my brain. And then I also dabbled a little bit in some of there was that Lord of the Rings RTS, and there was that Star Wars RTS. I can't remember the names of them right now, but they were both in that kind of era, a little bit after StarCraft. Yeah. And I enjoyed them, a little bit. But for me, if you're talking about Jake's favorite RTS of all time, the first StarCraft. But if you're talking about, games that give me the warm and fuzzies, Warcraft 2 definitely is on the list, because those games, Warcraft and StarCraft, Blizzard was always really good about when you would get new units or you would make them do something, they would always have a comment. Yeah. They would say something when you made them do something, and those little sound bites are just fucking seared into my brain from that era.
Chopping wood, and I can replay that in my brain right now, chopping wood in Warcraft.
Yeah, chopping wood, making they had it in Warcraft 1, but I can't remember in Warcraft 2 if they made you make the roads. Did you have to make the roads to put your buildings on in Warcraft 2, or was that just Warcraft 1?
I don't think it was 2.
I don't remember. But yeah.
It's been a long time, man.
Love RTS games. I suck at them so bad, especially because I knew people that were so fucking good at StarCraft. But they are really fun. Yeah, I actually would like to get back into them for sure.
They can be a little stressful, though, too. When you start losing shit, it gets really frustrating. When your stuff starts tumbling. All right, let's get into the news, Jake. This is going to be a pretty what would you say? A pretty reasonable podcast as far as length, so pretty modest. But there is some stuff to talk about. So the first news point is more about Jake and I, kind of in a way, and maybe about you guys as well. But PlayStation has what they call the PlayStation Wrap-Up. And at the end of every year, they send you a link in an email, and you can click this thing, and it shows you all your fucking information. about, total play time, how many games you played compared to last year, your favorite genre, how many trophies you got, all that stuff. So real quick, and this is going to be similar to maybe what we did with the playtime and the from PSN trophies kind of recently, but this is direct from PlayStation, so it might be a little more honest, a little more accurate. But so I'm just going to go through mine, Jake, and then you can go through yours. Mine, the very first thing it talks about is total playtime. So my total playtime was 536 hours, and that is 10 more hours than I put in last year, which is weird to me because I felt like I didn't get as much gaming in this year. So
it seems weird. It seems weird that, to me, it's actually wild that you only had a 10-hour difference from year to year. That would mean that you would have a pretty consistent gaming schedule.
All of my stuff is really strangely consistent here. Like it's really bizarre. It's really fucking wild, actually. So 10 hours more this year than last year. So I must have had 526 last year, 536 this year. The top games played, first of all, I played 41 games this year. I played 40 games last year. So 1 game difference. My top game was GT Online with 100 hours, which is crazy to me, but I believe it because I fucking put a ton of time into that when I got sucked into it. I told you guys I got sucked into it. And then 77 hours with Horizon Forbidden West. And 50 hours for Mass Effect Legendary Edition, 48 hours with God of War Ragnarok, and 31 hours with Call of Duty Warzone. My favorite genre, they say, is action-adventure. And then as far as trophies I earned this year, I got 365 trophies this year, and that's a 3% increase from last year. So pretty baseline, really, for what I normally do. And I only got 1 platinum this year, and I don't remember what it was. Did I platinum Forbidden West? I might have. I might have platinum that game.
Yeah.
I don't know that I did. I don't know what game I got a platinum in, but then it's because it didn't tell me. But I did add from all of the games made available on PlayStation Plus, games that I actually added to my library, which are probably the Plus Essential games. I added 31 of them, probably because I already owned quite a few. Here's the trick on those. If you own the disc-based game and they give you the option to get the digital version on the PlayStation Plus, just get it. Just fucking add that shit to your library. I try to add everything to my library, but 31 games added through PlayStation Plus. Jake, what are your numbers?
So did you have how many days you played?
I don't know. Is that a thing?
I mean, it was in there, but I didn't know if you...
Well, you give me your numbers and I'll look.
So I played 327 hours of games. So obviously down a little bit from Fred. And I played a total of 247 days. So there's actually quite a few days this year that I didn't play any games at all. Or I guess to be fair, this doesn't include any hours that I spent playing games on my Xbox. So there is some stuff there that is missing. Obviously, there's some stuff that I've talked about on the podcast that I played on there that, I've discussed Pentiment and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and all that kind of stuff. So these numbers aren't entirely accurate. This is just my PlayStation numbers because I've also played a few things on PC as well.
How many days did you have?
247.
I had
on PlayStation.
232 days. So you got me beat on days, but I got you beat on hours.
That's strange. That's really strange. You must play. So that would mean that you would average almost 2 hours a day when you did play.
That sounds about right. On the days that I play, yeah.
Yeah.
2 hours maybe in the evening or whatever.
Sure.
Keep going.
So if you're talking about games.
Also, hold on. I'm sorry. No, all right, sorry. I saw another hours played that said 463, but that's splitting it between online and local. So my total hours, it was 536. I'm right. Go ahead. Sorry. I digress. Didn't mean to cut.
Pardon me. I played 20 games, and my top games were on PlayStation, again. Put an asterisk beside all my numbers because I also played a bunch on Xbox. So my top games were Horizon Forbidden West, Cyberpunk 2077, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, God of War Ragnarok, and Deathloop. I played Horizon for 71 hours. I played Cyberpunk for 54 hours. Mass Effect for 48 hours. You and I were really close on Mass Effect. And Cyberpunk, and Horizon, actually. God of War, I'm currently at 38 hours. I still haven't beat the fucking game. And Deathloop, I logged 30 hours. Man, Deathloop is so good. And my favorite genre is action-adventure, just like Fred. 149 hours of action-adventure games. And let's see. I got to be careful because if I press the fucking back button on my phone, it logs out of the goddamn PlayStation thing, which is stupid.
Jeez.
Sorry. I'm doing this so live. Angry. I didn't put it in the document.
So, yeah. There's a surprise.
So
Just kidding.
27 monthly PS Plus games added to your library. Now, I wanted to say that total playtime, I wanted to go back to this to just kind of add on to Big Box's comment. 327 hours played locally, 0 hours played online.
Oh my God.
So in the last year, I have 0 online hours with my gaming. So if that tells you that should tell you everything you need to know about my preference for single player versus multiplayer gaming. Which is weird because I did play quite a bit of Destiny. So I don't know how they must not count that for some reason. Maybe they don't count it because I wasn't in a party or something. I don't know how a lot of these numbers are calculated. But those are my numbers. And if you haven't done this wrapup.playstation.com, do it for yourself. It's really cool. It kind of shows you like all your shit for the year. And there's like 4 different sections: total play time, top games, trophies earned, and PlayStation Plus. I don't know if I did trophies earned. I got 200 trophies, no plats, because I'm a fucking loser.
Straight up.
And each one of them also highlights a specific PlayStation game. Like the first one, total play time, highlights Horizon. The second one, which is like the total, like the number of games played, highlights God of War. The one that talks about the trophies that you've earned highlights Gran Turismo, and it gives you stats about like how many people did this in the game and how many people did that in the game. Not your personal
stats, but
not your personal stats, but like overall stats. And then the fourth one, which is the PS Plus one, I thought was kind of cool. They highlighted Stray.
Oh yeah,
which in my opinion is a very I think everybody should play that game. It is so cute. It is really cool. I mean, I've talked about it on the podcast before, so I won't go into it. But it is very cool, especially because it's free on PS Plus. I don't know if it's still free, but I assume that it is.
I think it is.
And yeah, so that's a cool little thing.
Yeah, the way to get to it is wrapup, like WRAPUP.PlayStation.com, and you just put in your credentials, and then it just gives it to you. It's really cool. And then you can share your card also. So if you want to share your card link on our YouTube channel, I'd be happy to look at some of your guys' wrap-ups, see what you guys are putting in. You can share it with other people. So let's move on, Jake, to the first actual news point for today. And this is involving NetherRealm Studios. So somebody asked if we would be getting anything new from NetherRealms in 2023. And Ed Boon responded, I shouldn't answer that. But he wrote answer ANS23R that. So it's likely we might be seeing a new Mortal Kombat or Injustice game next year. So that's kind of exciting. I really liked those Injustice games. Did you ever play any of those?
No, but I've heard really good. Actually, the NetherRealm Fighters, Mortal Kombat, and Injustice, I've heard really good things about because of the story modes. Apparently, are fucking awesome in those.
They're
games.
Amazing.
And I've never played them just because I've never really been all that into. I mean, we've talked about fighting games a lot on this, so I won't go into it. But I've always been curious, and I don't know. I feel like I should, especially if any of these are on PS Plus or anything, I should just try it because I've heard really good things about them. I'm not a big DC fan, but it's cool. I mean, it seems like it's really neat.
It's
actually
really, really cool. Yeah, I played through it might have been Injustice 1 or Injustice 2. I really, really, really liked it. Next news point, Mr. Peters. This is involving a lot of people's favorite studio, which is From Software. They did announce a game at the Game Awards I don't think we really talked about, but they indicated they'd be returning to the Armored Core franchise. They're going to be doing Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. So when players asked if they should anticipate a more Souls-like approach to this new title, Miyazaki said they weren't going to be making a conscious effort to try to direct it towards more Soulsborne type gameplay. The essential direction of Armored Core 6 was to go back and take a good look at the core concept, pun intended, I think, of Armored Core and what made that series special. And it's been confirmed that part of the game will still include building out your own mech. And I believe the director from Sekiro Shadows Die Twice will be directing this title. His name is Masaru Yamamura. And so I always liked games like Mech Warrior where you could like spec out your mech and like earn credits and like put on new rocket launchers and all kinds of cool shit. So I don't know, man. From Software has a lot of money now, and they could probably put out a really good Armored Core game, I would imagine, at this point. So I'm curious to see how this is received. Jake?
Dude, I am all about it. I know that it's not the same thing, but this game reminds me a little bit of just, this like action oriented mech game. Reminds me a little bit of Zone of the Enders, which was a Kojima game, and specifically the second game, Zone of the Enders, the second runner, is fucking awesome. Now, part of that could be because it's Kojima and it's got like a cool story and it's like some anime style and shit like that. But Armored Core is like really neat in the fact that it's like a mech action battle game, but you have the ability to upgrade your mech and do all this crazy shit. And it's got these like sort of semi open kind of maps where you're fighting all these bad guys and stuff. And it's something that I would really love to see what modern From Software does with an Armored Core game, because I think it could be something that is just like really, really cool. Dude, there's very few things that are more awesome than giant fucking robots, and the idea that you can like have your own and modify it to your spec and do all these battles and shit. Like you're talking about, the old Mech Warrior games on PC and stuff were really fun because of that kind of thing. Now those were first person, but it was still really, really fun to do that. So I'm excited about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we're well overdue for a fun game like that. So that's kind of exciting to hear them talk about it. And oftentimes when a studio finds success, they try to bake whatever it was about that game that made it successful into every other future project, and they kind of get lost in the weeds at times, right? That can happen. So I like the fact that they're coming right out and they're like, yeah, this isn't going to be a Soulsborne style game. So all these fans of From Software, because of Dark Souls, Demon Souls, all these things, they might be disappointed about this Armored Core game and it maybe not capitalizing on the difficulty that those games have. But, I think that this is a brave approach from Software to recognize that, like, don't pigeonhole yourself into one kind of game. So I don't know. But
they may have tendencies now as a developer.
We'll see.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's probably not, it might not be, fucking super ass hard like these games are, but you may see some of that Elden, like, honestly, if they're gonna grab anything, grab like the open world kind of a like vibe of Elden Ring and put it into this, but like have it more mission based. Like that would be really cool, because even though the combat was really challenging and I could do with like some simpler combat, like the open world aspect of Elden Ring was fucking awesome. And so I hope that they come up with some really neat implementation and kind of it sounds weird to say get out of their box on this, because the old Armored Core games are their games, but get out of their current box, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. Very good, man. All right, well, let's get to this next one. This next one's interesting to me. They're all kind of interesting. That's why I put them on the list. So rumors were circulating about the end credits on the recently released The Callisto Protocol game, which was directed by Glenn Schofield. And he was the Dead Space guy. But so the interesting thing is there were rumors saying that, like, oh, Sony did so much for them, and maybe they did more than what they're letting on, because there were 150 names in the credits of all Sony employees. And so Glenn Schofield put a tweet out and he says, "You can't chase every rumor online, but I have to clear this one up. There are Sony people in the credits because we worked with them on the performance capture of our cinematics. They didn't do any additional work on the game. I hope that clears up any confusion." And, I don't know why it would matter per se if they did or didn't, but, we're living in a time where some people are being upset because they didn't get credited for helping. And now, so this is maybe the opposite, where, like, Glenn Schofield decided, like, every motherfucker that touched us this game for motion capture that worked for Sony, let's put their asses in the credits because they really helped us out, right? And now everyone's speculating, oh shit, Sony made half this game for them, and like, no, that's not the case apparently. So what do you think about that? It's interesting.
I don't know. I just it bothers me that people are in the modern internet age quick to kind of slap down a studio's ability to do something successful on their own. Right. Like I don't know what changed in recent years where everyone like is just they're like advocates for these multi-gazillion dollar companies. Like nothing can happen without their like their direct influence. I don't know. It's weird. It's not. People are like, oh well, this guy, because Sony helped them with the motion capture. Because to be completely honest, like a proper motion capture studio and setup is incredibly expensive
and complex.
And this is a brand new studio, so they probably cut a deal with Sony where they were just like, hey, we'll give you some marketing rights, and in exchange, you can maybe lend us your mocap studio so that we can get some of the motion capture done, and we don't have to foot the bill for that ourselves, or like make our own studio or whatever. And to me, that seems totally fine. Like, this guy was one of the creators of the original Dead Space. Why would you not assume that he was able to make this fucking game?
Why would you discredit him and just think like, yeah, this guy can
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I know this game didn't get a 10 out of 10. There was some issues with the technical experience and maybe a little bit on the writing side, but like, I mean, nobody's out here saying that it's a bad game. I don't know. I just wish that there was a little bit less
drama,
negativity, just by default thrown out there. It would be one thing if like something came out and they were like, oh, this is worth being negative about, but people just immediately are just like dismissive, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I just don't like the drama that shows up. You know what I mean? I'm glad that Mr. Schofield came out and he was like, yo, here's the deal. It's gotta be tough when you're in a position like his, right? Like, dude, just putting out a record on a small level like I do, and then getting negative feedback is like, can be really deflating. But then you kind of go chasing for the positive comments, right? So I can't imagine being on a level where everybody's fucking talking about the thing you created, right? Like that would be a very difficult wormhole not to fall into. And then, like he's saying here, you can't chase everything that everybody says and say, no, you're wrong about that. You're wrong about this. You're wrong about that. You're right about that. But he's wrong about this. Everyone's just fucking running their mouth about something they had no fucking clue about. But like he felt it was important enough, and probably not only to make sure the people who at his studio get the praise that they deserve for working so hard on this game, but also to not discredit the Sony employees for what they did, because the
way that I was thinking about it is it's a little bit more personal. Would be, imagine if, let's say, your song gets on the Cyberpunk game, and let's say after that, One If by Land or Fred Oakman and the Flood blows up and becomes this has this like phenomenal selling album or something like that. And like people getting online and just being like, oh, well, CD Projekt Red is like the reason that you're successful. Right, it's like they helped, you know what I mean? But like people would have had to have still listened to it and liked it, right, for it to be successful. Right. I don't know. It is weird, and like I said, I wish that people could just be happy. So Jake, you're saying there's a chance?
You think it might get picked? You heard it.
I mean, there's always a chance. It's a good song.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's a good song. I do think that there's a chance. I mean,
if the right people hear it.
It's no fucking 'tis the season, but it's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, it's definitely not about Christmas, that's for sure. we should have written a song about Christmas in cyberpunk style. Like, yeah. It's so fucking funny, dude. Anyways, let's get on to the next one, man. I already feel like we've been going too long, but it's only been a little over an hour, which used to be our average show length, and I'm trying to bring it back in, but there's been some shit to talk about. And as more listeners write in, the more we're going to interact with people who support the podcast. Final Fantasy 1 through 6 pixel remasters were rated for the PS4, so it looks like they'll be coming very shortly. These games are already available on PC, these pixel remasters. I think it's great. Why not?
Yeah, I don't like the remastering, the way that they change the visuals for these games, because the original version looks so fucking good, and the pixel remasters to me look bad by comparison. They should have just literally ported the original games. But I've been really wanting to play Final Fantasy IV, and I've never had a chance to play it. So I really would like to play that, and this is awesome. I do think that people should definitely, if you play one game from this list, play fucking Final Fantasy VI. It is so good. It gets like super hard at the end, but like it is so good. I played it on PS3 and Vita. Because you could bounce your save back and forth with like the PS1 classics on your Vita and your PS3. And I really, really enjoyed it. We might have even been doing the podcast whenever. There might even be episodes of the podcast where I'm talking about it, but it's a very good game. So this is cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's a good little tidbit for any of our listeners who like these kinds of games. And by saying these kinds of games, like dope ass games. All right. So the next news point is I want to talk about something that Jake has been a running theme the last couple episodes of our podcast. And it's not about Amazon Prime Video, but so Henry Cavill, you guys know I'm a big Witcher fan. Henry Cavill has announced that he's fucking done. He's not doing Geralt anymore. It's because the showrunner, it's presumably or assumedly, however you want to word it, is going way off the beaten path of the successful novels. And Cavill is like a very staunch supporter of the books and The Witcher, and he essentially bowed out. So he announces that he won't be returning after season 3. Not only that, he's also Superman in the DC universe.
Superman.
And he's no longer going to be doing Superman now. He's like, I'm out. And everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and my thought was, well, maybe he thought he was going to be Superman, so maybe he'll come back as Geralt now that he doesn't have any jobs. Now he's fucking like nobody. Au contraire, he is now going to be the executive producer and lead actor in a Warhammer Space Marine series coming to Amazon Prime Video. And if you've seen any interviews with Henry Cavill, he's like a super nerd, man. He paints Warhammer figures in his spare time. I guess when he was on the set of The Witcher, like they would just get Warhammer games and play them. Like he's a total nerd, 100% nerd. He's read all the Witcher books. He's like one of us, man. He just happens to be extremely good looking,
fucking smoking
ripped,
hot, yeah,
extremely good looking, ripped, and a really talented actor and really rich. But he's of the same ilk. So the fact that he is going to be the executive producer on this series means that there's no way it's going to go off the beaten path, because he's going to have the fucking last word on a lot of this shit. So that's huge. I wish that he would have been the executive producer for the Witcher series, but he's not. So he can't make those calls. This is exciting because it's Space Marines, man, and it's Cavill. It's going to be awesome.
Well, to be fair, did they say that it was going to be about Space Marines?
Yeah, that's what he's into. Yeah. That is 100%.
So he's into the Space Marines aspect of
that's
Warhammer, because there's so much that like it could be anything.
No, he's dialed into Space Marines. That's his thing. So this is what it's going to be. I'll be curious to see like how they. It'll be a while.
How they convert that to like a live action sort of thing, but because Space Marines are like they're basically, I mean, they're humans, but they're basically fucking robots, and they're like these giant genetically engineered fucking super soldiers that are, you know, have this armor, and they have all these like organs like just removed and replaced with other organs. Like it's really, really bizarre. I think that I'm of two minds about this. If I'm putting a positive spin and a negative spin on this, right? So positive spin, let's go negative spin first. Some people probably look at this and they're like, is this guy just like tough to please?
Right.
Okay. So is he just tough to please? It's possible. But the way that I choose to look at it is that he appears to be like a legit nerd, and he's got enough money and success and fame at this point that he has the ability to put his foot down for what he believes in.
Credibility as well. Go ahead.
Which is the sanctity of the original source material. And so hopefully he can kind of take the reins a little bit, at least on this. I know executive producer doesn't mean that you're like the fucking last buck, but you do have a lot of sway in how things go. Maybe this will be interesting to see like how this comes out. Is it like how true to form it really is, and what we really see. And Warhammer is a really interesting thing because he could start this. Dude, Warhammer, I'm not even fucking around. It could literally be like an MCU type scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
Or they could have tons of different shows in the Warhammer universe. I mean, look at just the amount of games that they've made in the Warhammer universe because of how vast it is. So he could be getting on the ground floor of something pretty fucking big.
The thing that's
now Warhammer. Just one quick thing before you go is like Warhammer has never really. It's about as mainstream as miniature battle games get, but it's never really become like this huge thing. There's like a vast majority of people on planet Earth still don't know what the fuck Warhammer 40K is. So it'll be interesting to see like if he can bring it into the light just like he did The Witcher. And I don't want to say he's the only one that did The Witcher, Netflix, everybody involved kind of made that successful. But imagine if this fucking comes out and now the most sought after game on PSN is Warhammer Space Marine. And they got to remaster the original one.
Oh, dude.
So that they can put out the second one. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I don't know. I want to see how this turns out.
Yeah. I was just going to add one thing is like, I don't know 100% if it has been confirmed that it's live action. I would think it would.
Dude, even if it's animated, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be live action because if he's going to be in it, I mean, you're going to want to see that handsome face. So my guess is that it's going to be live action. But the other thing is if it is live action, the budget for this fucking thing is Amazon can afford it. But I mean, like, holy shit. Like, if you want to do it right, it's going to cost so much money.
Well, they did The Expanse. I mean, and that is pretty sci-fi. So I don't know. You fucking know that Henry Cavill wants to wear Space Marine armor.
He wants to walk around in the fucking armor. Yeah.
Yeah. You fucking know this is a live action thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be. Anyway.
He just wants to yell it for the Brotherhood. Yeah. And just charge.
And speak in like fucking Latin and shit.
I'm sure he's doing it right now. I'm sure he's been practicing. You know what I mean?
He's probably in front of his mirror with his fucking homemade, Warhammer
He's
armor.
not even real, man. He's so cool. All right. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. That was kind of game related because we've been talking about Warhammer. Jake, this next thing happened to me. And do you remember me sending you this and showing this to you? So there's a news article on Push Square that says PlayStation will pay you to provide customer support on its behalf. I had an invite to do this, and I didn't do it because I wasn't sure what I would have been getting into. I'm just gonna read real quick the article from Push Square verbatim real quick, and then you can offer any kind of. I'm gonna skip around a little bit, but it says essentially. All right. Sony has begun sending out recruitment emails to some of its users, inviting them to help out their fellow gamers in exchange for cash. Yes, Sony will pay you to answer support questions from other PlayStation users. Quote, we've teamed up with the folks at Limitless to offer you the opportunity to put your PlayStation knowledge to the test and get paid for supporting other players with their questions, end quote, reads the email. And this is an email that comes from, I don't even know, it doesn't even say PlayStation Lifestyle, I guess. And the opportunity is first come, first served. And should you be successful, you can start earning a little bit of money for your contributions. Limitless is the company they're working with to offer this. Is a business solution that allows brands to have their loyal users who are arguably the most knowledgeable. Keep in mind, I got an email about this to engage with customer support. After registering with the Limitless phone app, you need to pass an assessment of some sort. If you're selected, you can answer support questions via the app with up to $1.20 paid for every query you resolve. New starters also get an upfront payment of $10. So it's not major money, but if you know your stuff, you can make a quick buck helping Sony out with troubleshooting. It's just weird, man.
First of all, I don't know what your time is worth, but there's no fucking way you're going to get me to do this for $1.20
per resolution.
I'm sorry. Unless it literally takes 2 seconds for me.
How do I turn off
thing.
my PlayStation?
Yeah, I'll answer that for $1.20. My time is literally worth more than the time it would take me to type the fucking response to that.
Yeah.
Now, I get like if people are like super, super knowledgeable and they can answer like a bunch of these and they're really into it, then yeah, maybe it's worth your time. But I don't know. I'm speaking purely from my standpoint, my point of view in my life. Other people may be more into this. To me, this is just like a waste of time.
Is it weird?
And it's just like, it's like Sony trying to not have to pay their own tech support people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the way it strikes me. It's a weird thing for a company the size of Sony to do. they're almost in a backhanded way trying to the smoke and mirrors is like, oh, you can make money and talk about PlayStation. Here, help us answer these your fellow gamers questions. I don't know. It's just really bizarre. I have nothing else to say about it except that I was offered the opportunity to be a part of this, and I started doing it just to see what the hell it was all about, right? Because it came from Sony for sure, the email. And then as it redirected me to the Limitless site, I was like, I don't want to put in my personal information here. I don't know what this is. But they did say that you'd have to take a quiz. And who knows what the fuck those questions were. But anyways, I digress. Jake, we don't need to talk anymore about that. But what I really want to talk to you about, because this should excite you. Last episode, you said that Hideo Kojima arguably makes the best video game trailers. Did you not? So, Kojima Productions is joining forces with Hammerstone Studios to make a Death Stranding movie. Hideo Kojima will be the movie's executive producer, much like Henry Cavill with the Warhammer series. The movie apparently will feature new characters in the Death Stranding world, but there's no word if any of the existing game characters will be starring in the movie. So Norman Reedus and whomever else is in it. And this is not shaping up to be a PlayStation Productions release either. So how do you feel about this?
I don't know. Like, I kind of like the idea of him focusing his attention on games, but if a Death Stranding movie is going to be made, it's got to be him. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but
he has to be involved, right? He can't not.
It's his vision, and you better believe that movie is going to be fucking weird as shit and probably nonsensical. But by the end of it, you're going to be like, "That's awesome." I have no idea what the fuck was going on though, and so. There's something cool about that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this ends up being. If it's going to be animated or live action, it could be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be like going.
His games are so. Sorry, I was gonna say his games are so lifelike anyway. It could be live action and really not make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
You can just fucking drop Norman Reedus in there, and like, cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like watching a movie like this would be equivalent to like going to an opera and just bawling and having no idea why you're crying, because like, just like this is supposed to be like really emotional, but I have no clue what's happening.
It's just like Norman Reedus on a fucking beach with like a baby.
It just speaks to your soul somehow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird.
But
then he just takes a baby and puts it in a jar and it turns into an octopus. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's like a drug trip, but it like hits me deep, even though I don't take any of that stuff.
It resonates with you. So speaking of Kojima Studios, Kojima Productions rather, their studio, and I talked about last episode, game developers are showing off their studios lately, like flexing. Kojima Productions recently released some pretty fantastic footage of their studio, and their studio is like really wild, man. It's like I'd be nervous to even exist in that space because it looks so space age and futuristic and clean. It's weird.
Dude, I want that fucking statue of the astronaut that he has just like in my yard.
I'm sure he doesn't want it in your yard, but yeah.
Or just like what I would do is I'd secure it to the bottom of my pool, so that like when people jump in, there's just a fucking astronaut in the bottom of my pool. It'd be so cool.
It's in this latest,
it's really dope.
This latest video of the studio. They walk right in the front door, and it's not even in his office. It's just like all the customers. It's just there. It's on display.
Dude, the money that some of these fucking studios spend on their office spaces, I cannot imagine what like a normal small business could do with that. Like, it's insane. Like, they have these insane spaces that are. Now, to be fair, like, these guys are working long, hard hours making these games, and you want them to be in a good headspace. But a lot of it is it's just so. A lot of these studios are just architecturally so unique and interesting.
Yeah, they're really.
It's really cool.
It's really, really kind of bizarre. I don't know. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, go check out that video of Kojima's Productions, because it's like 30 minutes long, and it shows you all the inside of their studio. It's wild. RE Village. You guys know I always talk about Resident Evil 7 and PSVR. We know Village is coming to PSVR 2, but it has recently been announced it will be a free update for anyone who currently owns a PS5 version of that game. So, and it's also going to launch on game day, on VR2 release day. It's going to be a launch game. Jesus, I can't talk right now. So, holy shit, that's awesome. Jake, you haven't played Village yet. I suggest you buy it and play Village. I've played Resident Evil 7 in VR without playing the game first. So I challenge you to play Village entirely in VR, front to back, your first time playing the game.
I'll have to play something else in VR first.
Okay.
So I can know if I'm capable of tolerating an entire game that long.
It would change your life.
Because I've never been one to really enjoy the spooky stuff in VR.
Fuck, dude.
Like, because I'm not, I don't know. I've never really been into like the jump scary kind of stuff. Like the thriller stuff is fine. Like to me, I would say that Thumper is a fucking thriller. When you're playing that game, it like puts you on edge. The atmosphere and the music and everything. They better make a fucking Thumper 2 for PSVR 2.
Oh, it's coming, dude. Yeah.
It's just the same goddamn game, but different levels.
Underrated.
Yeah, so good. But I do want to play this. I do want to play Village, and I very well may play it in VR if it comes out. Like, because I probably will not get to it because PSVR 2 comes out in February, and the likelihood of me getting to it before this comes out is roughly 0. So, yeah. Maybe I will.
Man, it would be such an
It just really boils down to like how it controls, because like if it makes me nauseous in any way, I'm not going to want to do it. But like if there's like, because the problem is free move with VR can sometimes make certain people nauseous if it's not handled very well. So if I get that feeling, I'm not going to want to play it that way. But if I can play it and not feel physically hindered by it, I might be doing it.
I'm actually jealous. I should have waited to even play this game for the VR version. Man, I'm so disappointed now because it was one of the best experiences I had with video games was playing the first, Resident Evil 7 or whatever in VR. My first playthrough. Like, I don't like scary shit either, but it's scarier than any haunted house you could ever put me in. And
yeah,
but I knew I was safe because you just stop and you just close your eyes or whatever. You get real freaked out. You know what I mean? You know you're fine. But what a wild ride. So I challenge anybody actually who's getting a VR 2 to play Village, their first playthrough in VR. Let me know if you can do it. Let me know if you have the balls to do it. So the next one is kind of interesting. I've enjoyed the newer Tomb Raider games, and as it turns out, after Crystal Dynamics they were purchased by Embracer, correct? Is that right? Crystal Dynamics?
Yeah.
They were picked up by Embracer Group.
Yes.
Yeah. So it appears now Amazon Games is going to be fully supporting the team for Lara's next adventure. The game will be another single-player narrative-driven adventure, and this will be the biggest, most expansive Tomb Raider game to date per a joint statement that was shared by Eurogamer.net. So they're working on another Tomb Raider game that apparently is going to be the biggest and most expansive game, and it's going to be backed by Amazon money. So who the fuck knows what we're going to get with this? I don't like the Amazons in the game.
I just don't want it. I don't want it to be bigger. I just want it to be better. That's all I want.
Do you care though? But like, I don't like Amazon getting involved in games though. I don't mind if they stick with like the movie shit, like the Prime videos. But like, everyone just wants to go where the money's at. They know money's with games, so it makes sense that they're involved. But man, if they're only providing money to like the studio to like work on the game, that's fine. They just want their name attached to it. That's fine. But we're starting to enter like a weird territory, I think.
I don't know. I don't guess I don't really care. All these games are all these studios and stuff are consolidating and shit anyway, because inflation is destroying the value of the dollar. So everybody is just kind of buying everybody else and kind of consolidating everything. And so I don't know. I mean, Amazon is Amazon. It is what it is. I don't know that I necessarily really care so much about that, but I haven't seen anything to give me any amount of faith that this is going to be any good now that Embracer's a part of it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I didn't play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which was the third game.
It's good.
But to me, there was a drop in quality, or in what I considered to be goodness, between the first Tomb Raider, the reboot, and from I think 2016 or 14 or something like that, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. I thought the OG Tomb Raider game, OG meaning the first reboot, in my opinion, I thought it was better than Rise of the Tomb Raider, but I might be a minority opinion on that. Part of it could have been colored a little bit by the fact that it was on Xbox for a year before we got to play it. But, and I heard Shadow of the Tomb Raider was even a step down from Rise of the Tomb Raider. So what does this mean? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I liked them all.
Lara Croft, to me, like in the first game, I thought she was an interesting character. And then in the second game, she just like is instantly just a killing machine. And I'm like, what the fuck? I would like a little bit more character development here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand why she goes from a girl thrust into this crazy situation, figuring out her destiny, to suddenly between game 1 and game 2, she's this like psychopath fucking murderer.
Right.
And I don't know, like it's you know, they're always compared to Uncharted, but I think the reason is that like the Uncharted games do a much better job with the pulp aspect of it, the development of the character, while still kind of embracing the idea of the fact that Drake is killing all of these guys, but it's not destroying his character, because it's pulpy and it's fun and it's actiony, and while still like it's a delicate balance. I don't know. I guess I haven't really commented too much about the fact that Amazon is the one doing this, and I guess the one positive thing about this is that Amazon has basically infinite money. So if this means that Crystal Dynamics can take their time and do what they want to do and spend, you know, make it as polished a game as possible, then sure, I'm all about it. Take Amazon's money. Fuck it. But if, you know, if they make this game bigger and better, if they make this game bigger and bigger and more expansive at the expense of it being a fucking good Tomb Raider game, then I don't want that. I don't know why anyone would want that. I want games to be smaller. Games are too big now. I want them to be smaller.
I agree with that. I think that I'm tired of these slogs. Like, I'm so... Not that God of War was a slog, but man, it was way longer than it had any business being. And then when you finish it, you're like, ah, fine. That was a great story. I'm glad I got through it. And then, like, there's post-game shit. And you're just like, what?
Yeah, there's like an epilogue and all that.
More than that.
I don't know.
It's like it's crazy.
Well, remember Red Dead 2?
Yeah.
You finish the fucking game and there's 30 more hours after that. It's like, what the fuck?
Like, it's good.
Like,
man.
Yeah, I like it, but it's, you know, now granted, we're speaking from the perspective of busy adults or whatever, but I've been playing. When did God of War come out?
I don't even know.
Like November 8th or something like that?
Yeah, sure.
8th or 9th?
Something like that.
I've been playing the game for literally a month and a half. I would like to move on. To be fair, when I play it, I fucking have so much fun. I love the characters. I love the story. The combat is amazing.
Yeah.
But I would love it if this game was 20 hours, a tight 20 hours and done. And then I could jump off and on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Mass Effect 3 or the fucking space game that just
Callisto
came out we were
Protocol.
talking about earlier. Callisto Protocol. I don't know. I mean, I get people are trying to get. I mean, think about it, like the game. Like everyone's bitching about how much fucking games cost, and developers are talking about it's insane. Games cost fucking $200 million to make now, and it's like, well, stop making them 30 fucking 40, 50, 60 hours long.
Yeah, right.
Make it a fucking tight 20 hours,
Or even 12 to 15.
Yeah, and if you want to have a DLC team come in and make some side content and extra quests and all that kind of stuff, that's great. You can even charge for that shit. I get that but I do understand the flip side of it, and we're in a privileged position. We can afford to buy these games at $70 and all that. But everyone expects this shit to be free now. And it's like, oh, if I'm paying $70, then I have to have 100 hours of content. Because time
I want a 100-hour game
value.
with New Game Plus. It's like, are you fucking insane? Do you want to play anything else?
Do people actually play games like that?
Yeah, they do, man.
I don't know.
They do. I don't. It's not for me. It's not speaking my language. My issue with the length of games makes me actually think that the Callisto Protocol is exactly what the doctor ordered, because they say this game is ridiculously linear, and they're almost like you can't fucking get lost. Like there's only one way to go the whole game, and it's like, fucking sign me up. Like I just want to go this way, and I want a story, and I want to fucking mash some buttons and make it cool. Like that's all I fucking want. Like I don't want to have to fucking look for things, treasure chests, maps that lead to locations in like a map the size of fucking, I don't know, the United States, where I have to find a tree that's bent just the right way over this ledge, and then maybe there's a treasure there, and you dig it up, and it's like, oh, here's another clue, and it's like, fuck, man, like I want a game that respects me as a gamer and my time. Now, God of War, they kind of, like you said, Jake, man, I love that game, but towards the end of my playthrough of that, I had trouble even turning it on, because I was like, how much longer is this gonna go? Like I got to get through this. Even though it's fun.
I'll be honest with you. I feel like God of War, even though the game is longer, I feel like the experience respects your time.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
I had a problem, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on the podcast with The Last of Us Part 2, because I feel like the game was way longer than it needed to be. Like, I don't think that the game needed to be that long. Yeah. God of War, I'm saying, yeah, you could probably tighten this game up and make it shorter. But every time I'm doing something, I feel like I'm doing something. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not just like, I don't know. I'm not in the great frame of mind to be able to really, like, I'm not going to sit here and try to compare God of War and The Last of Us Part 2. It's fucking pointless. They're completely different games. But like, I would love to hear, like, we've been getting a lot of listener feedback recently, just generally. I would love to hear from the listeners if there's anyone out there who has an argument for these games being excessively long. Like, other than the obvious, which is like, I can only buy one fucking game a year. I need it to be 150 hours long.
Yeah, or just like, it's like give me $70 worth of experience, right? Like give me as much game as possible, because I just love fucking playing games. So give me as much as this thing, right? I think our argument, Jake, is that like sometimes less is more. That's all I gotta say.
Dude, I don't know, man. I love, to me, if I can, what I would love out of a game like God of War, and I don't know how you do this, so don't say that this is like the be all end all solution, but I wish that there was a mode where it was just like fucking linear mode.
Turn off all the side quests.
Like, stop dragging me off on these side things. Like, just let me go through the story and just kind of pigeonhole me. Make it linear. And then when the game is over, open the world up. You know what I mean? Like, then you have all this endgame content. Now, I understand that it's difficult with God of War because one of the benefits of doing all the side content is that you make the game easier for yourself because you get to upgrade your character. You find like the rare resources to upgrade things like your axe and your chaos blades,
your armor,
and stuff like that.
all that shit.
You know, that stuff is important, and I do think that there's a lot of side content that is worth doing, but I haven't played a lot of the side quests in God of War from a narrative perspective and been like, this is important. Other than, to me, there's only one quest that I've done, and this is, I won't say it, but say like what happened.
We'll write it down for the spoiler cast.
But there was a quest that you do relatively early in the game, a side quest that you do with Atreus that presents a touching moment between father and son.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And to me, that's like worth doing. But a lot of them are just like, oh, the fucking ghost needs you to collect 6 jars. And it's like, okay, well, this isn't worth my time. But if you're like an OCD gamer, you're like, I got to do it. I
paid for this experience.
It makes the game fucking 50 hours long. And it's I don't know. This is something that I feel like is first world problems. I get it.
Yeah.
This game is amazing.
All that shit aside, yeah. What is it? Listeners, let us know. Do you have a way to justify games that like tend to have, I don't know, more game than it seems like Jake and I are willingly happy to go through and play, right? Like, I feel like the older you get, the more valuable your time becomes. And I think that's 100% a true statement. And at least from your own perspective. And it's just difficult for me. And the problem is Jake, like, if we weren't stuck in God of War right now, like, we have jobs, like we've talked about, we have jobs, we have other lives, but we're not, this is a labor of love, this podcast. So, like, we're not only doing this channel, right? This isn't what this is like so low on the priority list in our real lives, but we still make it happen. But like, I can't justify staying up till like 3-4 in the morning playing God of War so we can talk about a new fucking game on this podcast, unfortunately. So this is like as true as you're gonna get to like just a regular 2 dudes that just fucking play games in their spare time. Like, that's what this podcast is. And to me, it bothers me a little bit because I felt the need to play God of War, not only because of the podcast, because I really wanted to play it, but also now I feel like it has held me back from getting into the Callisto Protocol or you know, maybe playing these other things that I want. You know, I wanted to get back into Cyberpunk. I want to try the Witcher thing, but now I don't know what to do now. You know what I mean? And it's like we've went 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks longer of shows where she's like, what are you playing? God of War. What are you playing? God of War. What are you playing? God of War. God of War. Doing this on the side. What are you still playing? Jake, you're still playing fucking God of War. Like, it's just like, wow. Like, a regular human being who does not devote their life to gaming but loves to game, this game is taking a chunk out of your time. And it's like, it's a great game. I'm not trying to sound disparaging about it at all. I just think it's a fantastic game. And I don't even know that it overstays its welcome. I just wish that like some of these AAA games, first party games in the future didn't have to be 40 fucking hours, right? I give me like a 12-hour game. Give me a 12-hour single player game. Maybe that's what the Callisto Protocol is. I don't know what the time to beat of that game is, but they're saying it is straight and narrow, right down the fucking middle. No, I don't think there's side quests. I think it's just a fucking linear, this is your story from what I've read, and that makes that game seem so much more appealing to me. And I think some people were actually upset about that. Like, the game is ridiculously linear. And it's like, well, that's what I fucking want. Give it to me. I don't know.
That's what's up.
What's the time to beat? on that. What's time to beat Callisto?
I think it's like 12 hours or something like that.
Oh man,
Perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect. I think that's.
I do understand the value proposition though of like people. I feel like people overvalue things like game time with how much you spend on a game, but again, like I mentioned earlier, we're in a place of privilege where we can afford to play different games, and so to me, go back 10 years ago to Journey, and Journey was $20 or $25, and the game only took an hour and a half to beat, but that experience, I would have paid $60 fucking for that. It was just so good that I feel like part of the issue is just we're locked into this, like, games cost $70, games cost $70, games cost $60. It's like if the value of games was a little bit more fluid and I say manufacturers, it's kind of a weird term, but like publishers and developers were a little bit more fluid in terms of their pricing, then maybe people wouldn't be so weird about game length and stuff like that. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know. Let's move on though. Let's keep this thing rolling. Good little sidebar there. I don't think I'm going to recode it as anything but Tomb Raider and Amazon Games, but if the listeners listen, they'll hear that nice conversation. Let's get on to this next news point. Spider-Man 2 is apparently coming out fall of 2023. That's right around the corner, man. And just to piggyback on this, what I want to do, real quick, Jake, look at that link in there. 2023 is going to be an absolutely ridiculous year for video games so far. And I'm just going to name a couple of these games. I mean, it's absolutely insane. The 2023 is going to be like a year of gaming probably to remember. I'm
assuming these games come out in 2023.
If they actually come out. So Monster Hunter Rise already kind of out. Forspoken, Dead Space, Deliver Us Mars, which is a sequel to Deliver Us Moon. We're getting Hogwarts Legacy. Let me see here. Wild Hearts. What's that? I don't know what Wild Atomic Heart looked awesome.
That's an EA game.
Yeah, Atomic Heart looked awesome. And then the Like a Dragon Ishin games coming out. Horizon Call of the Mountain on PSVR 2. Octopath Traveler 2. Destiny 2 Lightfall. We're going to be getting Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. That game's Skull and Bones everyone's talking about. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Resident Evil 4 Remake. We're getting a game, let me see here. Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores, which is the DLC to Horizon Forbidden West. Dead Island 2 finally. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League's coming out. Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, a RoboCop fucking game. Let me see here. Marvel Spider-Man 2, which we just talked about. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Alan Wake 2. I don't know if Aliens Dark Descent is a new Aliens game. I know that there were some rumors about them making another Alien game, but I don't think that's what this is. But that Arc Raiders game is supposed to come out in 2023. Armored Core 6, which we just talked about, The Fires of Rubicon by FromSoft, is coming out. Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's going to be insane. The Company of Heroes RTS, Company of Heroes 3. We're getting Phantom Liberty, the DLC for Cyberpunk. The Ueden Chronicles, 100 Heroes. Let me see here. Flashback 2, which is insane. That Goodbye Volcano High game we had talked about. Oh my God, like the list is insane. Finally, the Sands of Time remake, Prince of Persia. Remnant 2. We talked about that last episode. We're getting remasters of Suikoden 1 and 2. Let me see what else is here. System Shock, The Division Heartland, and The Wolf Among Us 2, among a million other games. Like 2023 is going to be fucking insane. There's not going to be a shortage.
They have that Pragmata game on here, which is weird because I don't know that I've seen anything about this since the PS5 reveal.
That's really weird. Yeah, I clicked on it. I don't see any. It does say 2023 on the Push Square site. But yeah, I don't know anything about it. Is it possible that's actually a 2023 release?
Who fucking knows? It could be one of those games.
Just a
Is it a
placeholder
Capcom game? It could be one of those games like Deep Down that never fucking came out.
Dude, so if you're a listener, write in. Tell us what you're looking forward to in 2023. There's going to be a ton of freaking games coming out. It's insane. That list is crazy. It's crazy town. And,
dude, I'm actually really looking forward to some of these games like Hogwarts Legacy. Persona 4 Golden on PS4 is fucking huge. People should definitely play that.
Diablo 4.
Diablo 4 looks really exciting. Atomic Heart looks great. You know, obviously Octopath Traveler 2 looks great.
Final Fantasy
Horizon,
games. Yeah.
Final Fantasy, Resident Evil 4, Jedi Survivor. Fuck, there's so many on this list that just looks great.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, dude. It's gonna be a great, and we still don't know when the new Naughty Dog game is gonna get put out. They said we'd hear more about it in 2023. I mean, I maybe you might see a Q4 release on that. You don't know. It's possible. And then lastly but not least, there are some really cute holiday cards from your favorite PlayStation studios over on the PlayStation blog. And you guys can check that out if you choose. And I just thought it was a nice way to kind of wrap up the podcast just by, we're not going to talk about them or anything, but you guys can go check them out. It says Season's Greetings 2022 PlayStation blog and friends. So that's kind of nice. I want to say Naughty Dog started that trend with their holiday cards, and now a lot of studios are doing it, which is kind of cool. But
yeah, I will say, just to kind of jump back a sec, the Spider-Man 2 is coming out, and dude, Miles Morales was so good, and it was like. It was a little short. I'll be honest with you. You could, if you really were hauling ass, you could beat the campaign in like 3 hours.
I'm fine with
but
it.
like, but it was only $40. So I'm really curious to see what they do with the second one and how big they make it. I mean, honestly, if it's even as big as the first one, that's like fine with me. You know, it's like you got a tight like 15, 20 hour campaign with a bunch of extra shit if you want to get the platinum
for like
and all
an
that.
open world-ish kind of game, that works, yeah.
But I am curious to see if it will end up being cooperative because the trailer made it look like it was going to be.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So it will be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah.
And I do love, you know, these I'm looking at the holiday cards that are on the PlayStation blog. They're all really neat.
I like when they do that. There's a lot of cool ones. The one for God of War is the first one, and then there's one with Aloy, and then Spider-Man, and you know, I don't know. Housemarque has one here, and I don't even know what that. It must be Returnal stuff.
It's Returnal, yeah.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Square Enix has some shit on there. Yeah, it looks really cool, man. Some of them I don't even know what they are. Like, what is the Naughty Dog one? What is that? It's Joel and Ellie in a weird, like, abstract. Who is that on the Naughty Dog one? Do you know?
Yeah, I was looking at that one. I assume so, but I guess I don't know.
Because it's coffee, and Joel likes coffee. It's them sitting around a campfire, it looks like. It's just kind of abstract. The Ben Studios one is weird, too.
Oops.
I couldn't quite figure that out. It's got to be Days Gone. What has Ben done lately? I mean,
it is weird how it's like a real picture though, of like a snow
globe.
Of
an actual ornament, of a globe. So I was hoping that maybe in some of these holiday cards that like we would see like a clue as to what a studio is working on. You know what I mean? Sucker Punch has Sly, Ghost of Tsushima. They got Infamous on there. That's kind of fun. Then we get a thing of The Sims with an Abominable Snowman. There's a Rocket League card on here. It's kind of cool. You guys should really check this out. It's kind of neat. I'm all about this kind of thing. But, yeah. Activision is a picture of a dude that looks like Santa with a fucking like MP5 or something. Like, it's like, come on. Time for a not so silent night. Unbelievable. It's cool though. Yeah, so go check it out. And then Blue Point is interesting. It looks like, doesn't it look like that's Kratos' axe?
It does, yeah.
Is that a sign of something? What did Blue Point do with God of War?
Who knows? Maybe they're going to remake the original 3.
Maybe
which would be interesting.
Maybe there's a sign there. It looks like Kratos' axe for sure. I don't know the shield and the sword there. I don't know what that could be. That's interesting. That also could just be like a play on. They remade what was that game that came out on the PS5? Came out that Blue Point did. It was.
You're talking about
Souls?
Demon Souls?
Yeah, it could be like a Demon Souls reference. I don't know, with the shield and stuff. We're talking way too long, dude, and our listeners, I think, like the fact that our podcast is a little more concise. So I'm gonna quit. You can keep looking at these cards, Jake, but I'm gonna sign off. Do you have anything you want to say before we end out? We should have one more episode before the holiday, I think. No, this is it. This is it. I believe before Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas
we're gonna have to
falls on
decide what we're
Sunday.
gonna do. We're gonna have to decide what we're gonna do on Christmas, because I can fucking tell you right now, there's no way in hell that I'm gonna be recording on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So maybe we can try and squeeze one in
23rd.
on Friday or something.
Yeah, let's try to record on the 23rd. I get out of work early. They're letting us out 4 hours early, so we could record the 23rd. I think that sounds good. There's no new games to talk about. I think a lot of the news sites are also winding down. We usually get our list off Push Square. They didn't have any new list up, so we're just going to bypass the new games coming out this week. So, yeah, if we don't talk to you before Christmas or the holiday or whatever you celebrate, have a good one. Have a great week. Have a nice Christmas. Have a nice holiday. Be kind to one another. We always used to say on our podcast, Jake, that it's really important to spend time with family. It's okay to put the controller down for a little bit and pay attention to your family, because that ultimately is more important than getting the Wolf School armor on the Witcher upgrade. So
Yeah, and whenever you play Call of Duty in the next week, make sure that after you insult a 13-year-old, you say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays.
maybe while you're teabagging them.
Just add it on after you, like when you're teabagging them, like try to project like images of pine trees and family fun.
Just apologize for teabagging them and say, I really don't want to have to do this right now, but I really want to wish you a nice Christmas, a nice holiday, while you're just like, bam, 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 teabagging. That'd be so funny. Just in the most calm voice, I'm really sorry about what's happening right now, but, I got to stick to it.
Have some nutmeg.
Yeah, oh, Jesus. Get a little nutmeg for your fucking hot chocolate. Oh, I'm not going to go there. That got nasty real fast. All right, guys, that's it for the podcast. I appreciate you all listening. This has been episode 254. And P.S. This is awesome. We're a PlayStation podcast. We are every week. If for some reason we disappear next week, which I don't want to have happen, it's only because of the holiday. But we will get the episode out. We're going to try to get it out on Monday. So Christmas is Sunday. We'll try to have it out on the 26th. No promises this week. You got to be a little forgiving with us, but we're going to do our best. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to the new listeners. I hope we didn't rant a little too long. We're recording this on a Saturday night, so the mood is maybe a little bit different, a little more loosey-goosey, a little less rigid as it has been, but we will be back in true form. And thanks to the listeners for writing in all the time. And don't forget to sign up to our Patreon for $1 a month. With that out of the way, like Inscription, Isanzo, and Ironclad Tactics. P.S.
Yes.
This is awesome. Tis the season in northwestern Pennsylvania. I lost my